He'll play fake. On the out route, it's got a wide open C.J. Turner. Shakes a man, breaks a tackle, walks the sideline, into the end zone for the Lion touchdown. C.J. Turner from Chason Virgil. Game on.
Here we go.
All right, welcome to another edition of the Southeastern Sports Network podcast. Happy to be with you again this week as we're diving into the week 2 of the college football season. And, boy, it's taken off really quickly. All the games are done from all the teams across the country for week 1, and everybody's getting ready for week 2 really quickly. I'm Robbie Rhodes along with Mark Willoughby, and happy to have you with us here tonight. Talking line football, talking line athletics, and a lot to cover as always. And it's not time for our special guest this week. It's brought to you by Gateway 4 in Ponchatoula. Our special guests each week, go check them out at gateway4.net. Is one of the greats to ever play here at Southeastern, quarterback Chason Virgil. Chason, thank you for being with us tonight, man. We appreciate you coming on, and looking forward to spending some time with you tonight.
Oh, man, thank y'all for having me.
Chason played for the Lions in the 2018 and 2019 season, led the Lions to the 2019 FCS playoffs with, I'm sure we'll cover this, but one of the more incredible comebacks to beat Villanova in the first round. Just a great season for him, a great career for him, and just keeping up with you, Chason. I know you care a lot about this program and what's going on with it, and I know Lion fans speak highly of you and appreciate your time. So tell us what you're up to these days. I know you're back over in Texas, right? Just tell us what you're up to and what you're doing, and fill in the fans on what's going on with Chason Virgil.
Oh man, I'm just an old high school coach now. Just coaching high school ball. Been doing that ever since I graduated from Southeastern in 2020. That was my first year teaching and coaching. So just been in that profession, and just trying to continue to get better at that, and influence the lives of these young men and women on a daily. And so that's really just it. Yeah.
Well, that's a great thing, because I know those, and you have incredible skins on the wall to teach young men about what it takes to be the best human you can be, the best quarterback you can be, the best football player you can be, and play at a high level. What experiences did you take from playing in Hammond and even Fresno State, that you're giving to these young men that you're coaching on the field each and every day?
Really just to have the experience of being able to play at a high level, be able to play in, big games that I was able to play in at Fresno and at Southeastern. Just those experiences, and then the experiences that we had just as a team. Just the day-to-day life of a college athlete, just kind of talking to them about those things and kind of what it takes to get to that level and have success at that level. And so just kind of trying to use all of that to try to mold these kids. And then obviously I played for some great coaches along my time in college. And so just picking things from each person and, just trying to, put that into, whether it's the system that we're running or just, our day-to-day, how we go about as coaches as well.
Well, when you came here, you kind of were signed in a unique time, because I think you were signed with Coach Roberts was here, and then he moved on kind of late in the process. Coach Selfo comes in, and I don't know how often you get back here, but I tell you, one of the pictures that you see all around that people talk about is after the Villanova game, you and Coach Selfo, that moment. I'm sure you've seen that picture. You see it everywhere. You could just tell, like, you were just locked in on what you guys had just accomplished, beating them like that. And you could just tell he was just so excited for that moment, y'all together, and that bond created. But you also had Greg Stevens as your offensive coordinator who carried on in that. How just talk about that whole process and that time frame and kind of what you were thinking about. I just came here, and now we got a new coach, and the bond you developed with Coach Stevens and Coach Selfo when you were here.
It's kind of crazy just because as my days at Fresno was coming to an end, it was really the winter semester was getting ready to end. So, the fall semester was getting ready to end, and I had kind of been, Coach Stevens had kind of been in contact with my brother at the time. They had gave me permission to talk because I had to go through compliance. All the transfer rules was a lot different.
Yeah,
they had gave us permission to talk. And I had talked to Coach Stevens every day. We talked every day, and then me and Coach Rob would talk every day. And actually, my Fresno team that year, we made it to the Hawaii Bowl and played Houston. I wasn't going to go. I was actually going to use that because I think we played on Christmas Eve. I think I was going to take an official to Southeastern, but I think I ended up just telling Coach Stevens, like, Coach, I'm coming down there anyway. I don't really need to see what it looked like. Like, I'm not worried about none of that. I just want to have a home to play. And so got done playing that game, got to Southeastern, and think I went through the whole first week of workouts or whatever. And then Coach Rob called us in that Friday night, and he was doing, the players said it was like a every Friday night thing in the off season, to make sure people were okay, make sure we got home and things like that. So I thought it was just, kind of that normal meeting. And that was that meeting he told us he was going to UL. And so it was kind of like a bummer, but I had such a great relationship with Coach Stevens at the time too. And so at that time, people was kind of pushing for him to be the head coach, didn't kind of know what was going to happen. And then, obviously Coach Selfo got in there and, everything just kind of set sail from there. It's actually crazy because the summer going into my senior year, I was at the Manning camp, the Manning Passing Academy, and I got a text message to my phone, and I didn't recognize the number at first. And they asked me, was I there at the camp? And I was like, yeah, I'm here, but like, who is this? And it was Coach Rob. And he happened to be there too. And we actually ended up having like a good 30-minute conversation, kind of about everything. And, he was very apologetic, kind of felt like, man, I didn't want it to be like that. I should have let you know before the recruitment process. But I had, kind of told him, like, Coach, I understand. I went through coaching changes at Fresno. I get it. It was a better opportunity for you. It was no love lost and things like that. And, that kind of stuck with me for him to be able to reach out to me and do that. And it's kind of, we've crossed paths a lot in my coaching career because I've had kids who he's recruited. And so, that's kind of been a great thing. But, the relationship I have with Coach Selfo and Coach Stevens, I still talk to them all the time. And so, those 2 years was great with those guys. Coach Selfo, I didn't know how I was going to like him at first. We used to get into it, but he unlocked a level of leadership in me that I didn't really know I could reach. And it was just the way that he put me in certain situations and pushed me on the daily. And so, I never really told him I appreciate him for it. I probably need to call him and tell him that. But it definitely helped.
Go ahead, Mark.
Well, hopefully, Coach Selfo's watching this, and he usually does, and I'm sure he'll get that message. But Chason, you were only here 2 years, but what an impactful 2 years it was. You dot the record book. I think you're in the top five in pretty much every meaningful category in Southeastern history in just 2 years. You also shared some of the table with Cole Kelly your senior year, but my goodness, you look at your game-by-game statistics, really outstanding. I think 15 or at least 15 games with 300 or more yards passing, 2 over 400. You were an ascending player at the end of your career. Not many guys can say that, but I think you may have played your best, save your best for last. And just give me a few of your moments, your bright moments here. What stands out to you? Some games, maybe some moments that you really dwell back on and say, man, I really enjoyed that.
I would say the first moment was the ULM game.
First game, right?
Just because for me, it was such a confidence-boosting game. Being at Fresno, I kind of, I played well, but, getting benched and not knowing, my confidence was kind of shaky. And that was, something Coach Selfo was really good at. Like, he instilled a lot of confidence in me, him and Coach Stevens. So to start my career at Southeastern with that type of game was definitely a defining moment for me. The other game, I would say my junior year, I would say was the McNeese game. They were the top team in the conference, and we obviously weren't where we wanted to be, but we went into that game, and beating them kind of meant a lot. The Nichols game that year was a pivoting point, I think, for everybody in the program. We often joke about it as teammates that our locker room code became that score. So every day you had to punch in that for the locker room code. I will say the return of Cole was a pivoting point for us because I think it showed the type of leaders we had on the team. And what I mean by that is Cole's departure at first, a lot of us didn't understand why. We didn't know what was going on. We were at workouts, and then one day he just wasn't there. So, everybody, we didn't get the full story. So, that kind of left people's minds to judge about what it was. But to Coach Selfo's credit, he pulled in everybody who he thought was a leader in the team at that time. And I'm pretty sure all our answers was different. I'm pretty sure sometimes he got the answer he wanted to hear. Sometimes he probably didn't. But I thought Cole coming back and how we've all handled that situation, I think was very pivotal for us. And then obviously going into that year, the Jacksonville State game to set the tone for the year, to beat the number 6 team in the nation. Then you go on and we're playing well. The Ole Miss game, we were down 17, fought back. So you knew we had the talent there. For me, one of the toughest games, even though we won, was the UCA game. Because I started the game, I think I did like a drive or two, and then Cole came in and finished it. But we won 34-0, so you took down. That's your second time taking down a number 6 team in the nation. The game I knew the type of team we were, to me, was the McNeese game again, because we lost, but we were down big and we fought. And the year before, the team wouldn't have done that. I don't think we were ready to do that the year before. So to see that happen, kind of was like, yeah, we lost, but and then I had the bad game against UIW, so I had to have some, self-reflection after that. And then I'm trying to think of the next game. The Abilene game was a big turn, was big for us because we flew out there, played them. They just beat us bad the year before. We beat them, and then that locked up the spot for us to play in the conference championship game, obviously. The Nichols game, man, I think it's still kind of tough to talk about, but it was a game for us that if we don't go through that game, we don't beat Villanova. That's just ultimately what it is. Point. If we beat Nichols, we get a bye week off, and then there's no telling how we play the next week. I think we would have played well just because I think we would have had another home game. But what you see from the dramatic finish of the Villanova game was a byproduct. The first half was a byproduct because we weren't over the Nichols game. So we didn't come out, really ready to play. And what I remember from the Villanova game the most was halftime. Came in at halftime. Coaches really didn't say much. They kind of just sat down, talked to us here and there, and then they walked out. And I just remember Dwayne Thomas, he was a senior linebacker at that time, I remember him jokingly getting up and was just like, man, what y'all want to do? Y'all want to go out here and play, or are we just going to lay it down? And I think that kind of took the air out of the room. And that's why you seen the team come out in the second half and play how we did. It wasn't the pressure was gone. We was over the Nichols thing. It was over with. We just moved forward from it. And so that's why you get the miraculous game that you get against, Villanova in that second half.
Our colleague Alan Waddell wasn't able to be on with us tonight, does the sideline for us. He wanted me to ask you if that second half was as locked in as you've ever been, that Villanova game.
Yeah, that's probably the most locked in. That's probably the most locked in I've ever been in college, to be honest. That's probably the most locked in I've ever been in. That game in that second half, it was just, everything just slowed down. It slowed down. And then, they came out, didn't score. Then we scored. Then they didn't score. Then we scored. Then they didn't score. Then we scored. And it was like, oh, y'all let us come back into the game. But, yeah, that was the most locked in. I felt like I was locked in against Nichols, but I think the Villanova game took it to another level.
Yeah, and then you close out your career at Montana. Great atmosphere. I mean, obviously it's Montana. It's, mid-30s, low 30s, whatever. And something we're not used to a lot down here, playing that kind of cold. I know up there they had short sleeves on, but just talk about that atmosphere. I know it was a loss, but you really played well, 436 yards, 4 touchdowns, got off to a hot start, couldn't keep up defensively, but my goodness, you were on fire.
Yeah, that game, it's crazy because for me, it wasn't that cold just because at Fresno I played in Wyoming. So I had kind of been in that kind of environment before. And then actually, junior year nickel game in Thibodeau, I felt was colder than Wyoming. Than Montana.
Louisiana
The challenge that Montana faced for us was it was the loudest stadium I played in. And we played at LSU, played at Ole Miss twice in my career, played at Alabama, played at Nebraska. Montana was the loudest stadium I've ever played in. And there was nothing you can do to replicate how loud it would be. But for that game, I think it was one of those things where, looking at my teammates, I think we fought hard, but the travel, a lot of guys on the team who were from Louisiana probably had never traveled like that. Obviously, I was able to do it because I was at Fresno, so I had those experiences. Obviously, the cold weather. When we land, it was the ice on the ground was kind of slushy. When we got there the night before, that Friday night, and then when you get to the stadium, driving up, it was like this mountain, and you can see the snow on it. Mm-hmm. It was just like perfect football weather atmosphere, and I think we embraced that the first half. But I think our youth kind of caught up to us because we were an old team, but we were young in certain areas as well. And so, it took a generational performance from I think his name was Sammy Toure to break Randy Moss record.
NFL, yeah.
And credits to him, he played well. He played a great game. But I think that game, I don't know if Coach Selfo would say anything what he would say about it, but I think that game kind of set the program. Even though we lost, I think it set the program in the right direction. I think it made him start scheduling those type of teams. Mm-hmm. So you get the South Dakota game scheduled, you get those type of games scheduled to see those teams earlier. So, you kind of get used to playing them before you just have to play them for the first time.
One of the things that always stood out to me about you from a leadership perspective and a maturity as a player is you get here in 18 and you've got this quarterback on the roster, Lorenzo Nunez, who had played the year before. And he's trying to say, I can still play quarterback. They're looking at wide receiver. So you beat him out. You got to deal with that. And then he turns into one of your targets that you threw a lot of balls to, especially in 2019. Had a great year at wide receiver coming to that change. Then the next year you're dealing with the Cole thing. And not saying it was a problem or a bad relationship. It was just another thing you had to deal with as a quarterback that's not normal, where you're getting 75% of the snaps. But that maturity and that composure, dealing with those situations, going from a guy you're competing with to trying to throw the ball to and score, and you threw a lot of great balls to him. He scored touchdowns the next year, mainly that stands out to me. And then the Cole thing, just talk about those dynamics with your relationship with Lorenzo and how it changed from year to year, from quarterback to wide receiver at targeted years, and then Cole and how that all worked in 2019 a little more for me.
Man, I go back to the year before I got to Southeastern. Being at Fresno that last year, I started our first 3 games and then got benched for the rest of the season. So it was, I had been there. Everybody on the team knew me. But, Marcus came in and it was either be mad at Marcus that he came and got the starting spot and, tank the rest of it, or continue to be a team player and, stay ready for, whenever happens. And so that mentality, when I got put into the situation the next 2 years, it was just kind of easy to really navigate. The other thing I think for me that was easy was, man, to be honest, my shoulders was banged up. Like my healthiest year in college probably was my junior year. Zoe brought a different skill set that I didn't have, just to be honest. Zoe was way more of an athlete than I was. Which we seen him move to a receiver and be as good as he was. And so, when it was like, okay, you're going to start, but he's going to have these packages, it was never like, oh, he shouldn't get those packages. It was like, please give them to him. Because I'd rather him run them than me run them. And it was kind of that same situation when it came to Cole, when you looking at it from the team perspective and what has to happen. We were having success because of how Cole was winning in those packages. And it was helping the team. As a player, yes, you never want to come off the field. You want to stay on there the whole time. But you have to look at it from the perspective of everybody else. Like, it's working. Why not ride it till the wheels fall off? There was honest conversations. I know my senior year, I think it was after might have been after my UIW game. We had a bye week, and then we played Houston Baptist afterwards. There was an honest conversation there that Cole was going to start actually getting, instead of getting those package plays, he was going to get a series or two. For me, that made me play better though, because now I got to maximize what I'm really, the time that I'm getting. Oftentimes, obviously, the competitor in me would have wanted to be on the field, the Nichols game on that last play, but the coach in me now, as a player, I never understood the decision. Just be honest, and I never talked to Coach Selfo about it. That wasn't my place to question him about that. But I didn't understand it. But then when I became a coach, I did. The play had worked all year. It was second down. Worst case scenario is the fumble. He hadn't fumbled on it all year. He's every bit of 6'7", 240, 250 at the time. So if you stop him, good luck. Tip our hats off to you and good job. But, for us, I understood the call. It was like worst case scenario is third down. We get a call in on third down. We don't like it. We probably kick a field goal one more time off and win the game. But it just wasn't our time to win. And that's just, what it is. And, that ends up propelling them later. But going through those two things, I don't know if he would agree. Probably not. But I think Cole might not win the Walter Payton Award if we didn't have to go through that, me and him as well. So it made me a better person, made me a better coach in the future, gave me the experience of how to deal with that as a coach, because I'm pretty sure that was tough for Coach Stevens and Coach Selfo to navigate. And so, I think at the same time, I would love to say that I probably helped Cole a little bit, letting him watch me and see my mistakes. And, when he got on the field the next 2 years, he lit it up.
Yeah.
I think he was.
Lastly, for me, you're a big Eagles fan, right?
Huge Eagles fan.
The last year was a pretty fun year for you to watch the Super Bowl run and get that done. So, Mark, you got anything else for Chason?
Yeah, I was going to ask you real quick in closing. I know you still keep up with the program from afar. I'm sure you read the box scores, watch them on TV when you can. Just what are your thoughts of this program since you left, kind of where they are now and what they've been through the last few years?
I think it's just a continuing progress. My senior year, we were a lot older. Like, we had young guys, but they played later because the older guys got hurt.
Right.
I think that year, we had like 20-some seniors. You go look at those 20-some-odd seniors, a lot of us were bounce backs. So, we had came from those top tier programs. I think Coach Selfo does a great job in recruiting, him and the staff. What I love is that we're playing these tough games. Yes, people are going to want the score to be a lot closer, but it has to build to that. He's keeping true to what the FCS really is. He's recruiting the high school kids, not really buying too much into the portal juice. When he needs to here and there, he will, or he might go JUCO. I get it. You got to keep all your options open. But developing that homegrown talent is going to be tough, and it's not going to always look the same every year. But when they get older, that's when you're competitive. And, there's an appreciation for that, because now those kids in Louisiana who are ultra talented, those high school kids in, different states, Mississippi, Texas, all those, they get that shot to go play, at a program like that. That's a great program. And, my biggest thing and what I wanted to do was basically have the same effect that Brandon had. And, it's okay to come play here. It's okay to come play in the FCS, playoffs. It's one of the hardest things to do. I argue people all the time. The FCS playoffs is way harder than the FBS playoffs, because it takes a lot to go beat a team on their home field. It takes a lot to do that. So I think what he's doing is great. I think the program is going to continue to go in the right direction. We can't get caught up in the box score all the time. The conference is getting back to being as powerful as it was. So, those things happen. I think for me, what I just kind of hope in the future is that we get it to a point to where maybe we jump up to FBS and, join a Lock Tech or whatever we get it rolling at, because I think not just for football, I think we've had success in every other sport as well. With both basketball teams, softball, baseball, track is doing really, really well. In soccer. So I think all the athletes kind of deserve that. But I think we're on our way there.
Well, Chason, we appreciate your time. Pleasure being with us tonight. It was a pleasure watching you play, watching what you're doing from afar, and we'll continue to do that. I know people always say this to me all the time. They say, man, we had Chason Virgil, Cole Kelly, and Cephas Johnson all in a row. We were just spoiled here. And so you're one of those guys, and we look forward to seeing you down the road. And thanks for giving us some time tonight.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Anytime.
You're welcome,
Chason
man.
Virgil.
Good luck,
Yeah.
Chason.
All right. Thank you.
Absolutely. Yep. Thank you.
Take care.
All right, thanks, Chason Virgil, for joining us. Our special guest brought to you by Gateway Ford in Ponchatoula. Boy, Mark, Chason was a guy that, he talked about it. He had a kind of I won't say a rocky road, but he had some adversity he dealt with, and he left out of here a winner. And you got caught up. I think you get caught up in the spring of 21 and how well Cole played and how good the team played in 2021 fall, and you think about the Villanova game and the playoff game. And this is weird for me to say this, but I just totally forgot about that Nichols game until he brought it up. It's just like that was. I've been you've been coming to games in this place, before football stopped, and then you've been going to them since it started up again. I've been going to games in here since 2007 and seen a lot of games, seen some big games, seen some playoff games. Sam Houston in 2013, probably hard to argue that, but I don't know. There was no bigger game in that stadium than Nichols 2019. Just 8,000 people packed, playing for the conference title. They were good. We were good.
10,000 people.
Might have been, with the end zone
crowd.
Yeah, I mean, that was just an unbelievable night. It ended so poorly, unfortunately, but I think he sums it up well when he says that, we don't beat Villanova without that game. And, he's a guy who is, you can tell, is very engaged with the program still, and, wants it to succeed, wants it to do well, and will continue to follow it as he gets older. I know, Robbie Mahfouz will tell you as easily as anybody else, when you're coaching high school football, it's hard to get back for college games on Saturdays to your alma mater. So I know he's facing that, like so many do who get into coaching, but in the high school world. But you can tell he keeps up with it, and just probably the top 3 or 4 quarterbacks since the programs came back that we've seen. We've seen some great quarterbacks here. Maybe every school can say this, but I don't know. I've seen everybody over the years, man, in this league, and it's hard for me to say like anybody in the Southland in the last 10 years, really in the last 15 years has had a better group of quarterbacks than we've had, from Brian Bennett to how well Nathan Stanley played in 2012, Brian Babin, to Cole, to Chason, to Cephas, and
Hankins. You can start there.
Yeah, there's some great QBs, and Eli Sawyer had his moments, but and then we obviously have new guys that are going to try to create their shining moments here. But it was good to talk to Chason. I'm happy he's doing well, and looking forward to following his high school career to some extent.
Well, he's a guy that gets it. He's always been a grounded human being, first and foremost, when he was here as a player, and certainly now as a coach. And he gets that, life unlocks. Everything's not handed to you. Everything's not, shiny, perfect. There are hurdles along the way, and every pitfall that you encounter in life actually strengthens you somewhere else down the road. But you have to allow it to do that. And he's a young man that's done that, and has gotten every ounce out of his college career that, you would hope a college football player and an athlete and a student would get. And the thing that really impressed me with this interview is we asked him about his moments in his Southeastern uniform, and the first things he mentioned were the games he didn't particularly play that well. Were not his best games. There were team bonding games that meant more as a team than as an individual, statistically. And I found that refreshing, because that's not often guys, especially when they look back on their career, that they look back on moments where they didn't particularly play well. And not that he played poorly, but I mean, it's just it kind of tells you who he is, and I found that very refreshing.
All right, Mark, jumping on Louisiana Tech Lions in week 1. Obviously not the performance that this team wanted. Your coach Stelfo speak to me today, and after the game, he kind of highlighted all those things they got to correct. Not a very good Louisiana Tech team, not a very good Louisiana Tech offense, but nonetheless, they still have some players and some playmakers, and our defense, I thought, played really, really well, holding an FBS to 17 points. I was going to ask, Mark, is that the lowest? I mean, because you don't count the scoop score fumble, but that's got to be the lowest point total we've held in FBS to since we've had football back. 17 points given up in an FBS game.
17 given up. I'm trying to think. Honestly, truthfully, LSU really only scored 17. You had a Hail Mary and right before the half, and then a scoop and a score. Not a scoop and a score, but a scoop and a setup a score. But in a 31-0 game, but they scored 31 offensively. But yeah, I can't think of. You go back to UL Lafayette back in '81, 7-0. That would be probably the record, obviously. And Auburn way back, Southeastern beat Auburn back in 1950. But since football came back, I think 21 was UL Monroe back in 2010. Troy scored 28. So Tulane scored 27, I think it was, in 2010.
Yeah, I think Tulane scored 27. It was 27-20 or something like that. 27-21, I think, something like that.
Score, I believe.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think Louisiana Tech is not, nationally, they're not a good football team. I mean, they were 5-8, whatever, lost a bowl game last year, and 3-9 the year before that. But their defense is really good. I think they're probably, again, I don't think they're as good as their ranking, because a lot of that comes in Conference USA, but they're good. They're good on the back end. They make things difficult for you. And I talked about on our wrap-up pod earlier, and I think, people tend to overreact a little bit. You go back and you break down the film and you watch, okay, why didn't we score? I mean, yeah, there's, obviously it's easy to say you played terrible. You didn't score. And you had 260, whatever it is, yards of offense. You were sacked 5 times. I mean, that's not a good statistical night in any way, stretch, or form, but there were opportunities there that just weren't cashed in. Either, I know one time we blocked the wrong guy. All we got to do is kick out the outside guy on the line of scrimmage, and we probably gained 15, 20 yards on a rushing play. Instead, it gets blown up for -2. And just little things like that. It's just this lack of execution. It's not being physically overwhelmed.
I mean, we had a touch. Yeah, right. I mean, we had a touchdown. I mean, Brandon Hayes run down the sideline on a wheel?
No, that was Jordan Williams. He an overthrow.
Carson's got a roll to his left.
Oh yeah, you had it was Rodeo Graham.
He's wide open. He walks. But Carson has to roll to his left there.
Yeah,
and that's a tough thing for any quarterback who's a right-hander rolling left, trying to set his feet, and he was almost too wide open. And
he was pressured. I mean, it was a scramble play, but and he had the ball in the first drive, an underthrow was intercepted. I mean, there were a lot of chances, and then of course you got the ball at the 2. And you turn the ball over, and then, of course, you have a fumble recovery return for a touchdown where you're driving for at least a chance to get points on a play that's probably should have been targeting, but was not even reviewed. You got shut out. You didn't play well because you didn't execute well. But I think there's a lot of room for improvement, and I think we'll see that this week. And I thought defense played lights out. I mean, there was really 5 plays, you could probably say, in the ball game where I thought we got out-schemed a couple of them. I think one drive we got caught with our backup because we're trying to rest our defensive linemen. They got us up-tempo with backup defensive linemen in the game. By the time you could get guys in, they were already on the goal line. That was one drive. And then you had the fluke right before the half that led to the field goal. But defense was lights out. I think that's going to carry all the way through the season. Offense will get better. These 2 quarterbacks will grow, and your playmakers, you'll eventually figure out, okay, who can you depend on? I think we saw a little bit of that on on Saturday. And again, you're going to play your peers. So I think it will get easier. Now, is this going to be a juggernaut offense like we saw with Chason Virgil and Cole Kelly? No, it's not going to be that. But I think it could be good enough, versus the competition we play. And I think Lion fans just need to be patient.
Murray State this week, Mark, making the trip to Murray, Kentucky. This is a return trip game. If you remember, they came here after the Central Connecticut State game, I want to say. No, after the UIW game. I think we played in 2022. We played the two FBSs. We played Central Connecticut State, and then we beat UIW, and then we turned around and played Murray as a non-conference game in week 4, and this is a return trip for that game back up there.
It was actually week 5, actually.
Okay.
After UIW, believe it or not. I would not have guessed that.
Yeah.
Were I not looking at that was actually a fairly competitive game early on, and we kind of blew that one open. It was, kind of a 48-14 sandwich game between UIW and Commerce, homecoming, and played pretty well that night, and kind of got cemented, got going back in the right direction, won 3 in a row, lost that Commerce game the next week, but that was kind of a get-right game, actually. But it's a program in transition. They've moved to the Missouri Valley Conference. They're in the second year in the Missouri Valley, so really biting off a big load there, and from the Ohio Valley, and I think that's probably more of a basketball move for them. They're coming off a college World Series, a trip, played great down the stretch in baseball. So I think that's got the campus on fire. Basketball is always good there. And, they're trying to get football, the ship righted in football. And they've had some sporadic success over the years. And they had a tough one on Saturday. I think they lost, what was the score of that game here?
45-14, I think.
Yeah, 45-14 or 17. They lost to East Tennessee State. That ball game was competitive. They fell behind and rallied with a couple touchdowns. I think they brought it to 24-17. I watched a little bit of it. They got a quarterback who can spread the ball around, a good receiver. They've got some weapons on offense. But East Tennessee State's got a bunch of transfers in. They kind of opened things up and really ran the ball on Murray State. They struggled to stop the run. I think they gave up 392 yards on the ground on 58 carries. So they really got pounded on. And so I would expect us to try to run the football on Saturday. Again, matchups are all different, team to team. But I would expect that's something we're going to try to do. But again, it's on the road. It's a bus trip. It's going to be about a 7-hour bus trip. For Southeastern, 7 to 8 hours on a bus.
They're going to break it up too. Coach Sullivan announced that today. They'll leave Thursday afternoon, drive to Memphis. They're practicing at the University of Memphis Friday morning, and then they continue the drive. I don't know if they're going to stay in Murray, Kentucky, or just outside of Murray. I didn't get that from him.
I didn't ask him.
I don't know
stay couple hours out and drive on in that day. It's a night game, 6:00 game, so they'll have time to bus in that day. But again, anytime you're traveling on a road, and it's not the first road trip, but it's a long bus ride, as bus rides go, and it's a team you're not familiar with and a territory you're not familiar with, so you got to be on your P's and Q's, and you're coming off a game in which you got shut out. So there's going to be a lot of soul searching this week, trying to get back in on the win column and get right for the rest of the year.
Well, Mark, we'll see what the Lions can do this Saturday. It's a 6:00 kickoff in Murray, Kentucky, against the Murray State Racers. So it should be a great one. Got to go get the ship righted. And look, these next 2 games are vital. You played bad at Tech. You struggled, not what you wanted. But even if you would have played good and lost the game 24-21, and it's like, well, man, that felt really good, it still would have been 0-1. And so you can rewrite the ship, and then that would have been the same thing as like these next 2. Because if you go lose 24-21 at Tech and you feel really good about yourself, and then go lose at Murray, and you're like, oh gosh, we just lost here, we're 0-2. You're in a worse predicament than you are saying, hey, we played bad at Tech, but we went and dominated and played really well at Murray State. You're 1-1, trying to get to 2-1 when Mississippi Valley comes down.
And I said it on earlier Louisiana Tech wrap-up pod is, look, we overreact to these games. You just look back to last year in 2022. In 2022, It was equally as
offense looked bad against Lafayette.
We know the boards. We know we got all the texts. We played bad. We can't score. Scored 9 points and whatever he scored, or 9 against FAU. He scored 7 against ULL, and breaking a new quarterback. Cephas Johnson, and all of a sudden, boom! The rest of the season happens. Make the playoffs, and you played 2 quarterbacks that year, and of course last year you get shut out and score 10 points in your first 2 ball games, and then you get shut out again against South Dakota State.
A lot of times it's just confidence, I mean, Coach Suffolk kind of talked about the Central Connecticut State game in 2022. They come off those 2 bad offensive performances, and then obviously play a team in the Blue Devils of Central Connecticut State that are undermatched or overmatched, but you're kind of able to just kind of like let it rip and go and like have some confidence build up. And so you can't take these next 2 games lightly by any means, but I do feel like we are more talented than both of them. Mm-hmm. I'm not saying you're going to win, but if you go start playing well and get the pedal on the gas and get going offensively, boom, you can play really good and win 2 games. You're 2-1 going to Tiger Stadium. That game doesn't really matter in any capacity. That's a game you just go there and take in the atmosphere and move on. And then you're 2-2 going into what matters, and a home game against UTRGV start a conference play. So, look, people were hoping about 3-1 to start this season, but all you had to be was 2-2. That's all you had to be. That's all you had to be. Win those 2 games against the FCS opponents and go into conference play looking to continue to build and stack wins. And if you go 9-3, 10-2 the rest of the way, nobody's going to remember this Louisiana Tech game. That's just the way it goes.
We all know what matters, and it's being relevant in November and December. And this team has all those goals in front, and it's a good roster or good players. You have good coaches, and it's, again, it's not an easy process, and you have to grow and you have to build. And I think this team will do that, and I think it's going to be a good year. Got to stay healthy, but I like where we are. I don't like losing 24-0, but I like the pieces on this football team.
Yeah, I mean, look, you started 0-4 last year. You looked rough against Tulane. You looked rough against USM in the second half. You looked rough against the Jackrabbits.
You beat Eastern Washington, but yeah.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, but you looked pretty good against Tarleton, but then you just took off from there, and you just played really good football down the stretch, and and gave yourself a chance to get in the conversation. And I think the schedule is very favorable to a team if they start playing well, can get to 8, 9, 10 wins this season if they go play good football. So we'll see. But that's it for us. Thanks for joining us. Back next week talking about the Murray State game, hopefully talking about a win and previewing the Delta Devils from Mississippi Valley State, the Fighting Jerry Rices.
We got after Southern this week.
They sure did. So we'll talk about all that and look forward to the home opener at Strawberry Stadium in 2 weeks. Or less than 2 weeks now, Mark. 11 days. So we'll be here quickly. So safe travels to you guys heading to Murray, and we'll talk to you guys next week.
And thanks to Chason Virgil.
Thank you so much. And Line the Collective, look it up, donate, please. We need the help. Players need the help. It's important to do that each and every week, if you can, or each and every month if you can, to help the program. For Mark Willoughby, I'm Robbie Rhodes. Go ahead.
Don't be a zero.
That's right. For Mark Willoughby and Robbie Rhodes, I'm saying good night to you. We'll talk to you next week. This is the Southeastern Sports Network podcast.